Hey everybody, I'm Sarah. Welcome to Overkill Global, BangerTV's international heavy metal show. This week, we are going big. And when I say big, I mean the biggest country in the world. That country, of course, is Russia. And we're talking about a rather wide genre casting. And the reason why we're doing that is because it seems as if not a lot of people actually know about the fact that Russia has a ton of heavy metal. So this week, we're talking about 5 records that are traditional heavy metal. And what we mean by that is thrash, doom, classic, and epic heavy metal, essentially anything with clean vocals. And we're gonna go over that scene in the country and try to give you a little bit more of a macro look instead of a micro look to introduce you to some of your new favorite bands. A lot of Russian metal is sung in Russian, and the language of heavy metal is undoubtedly English. We do see other countries who sing in their native tongue. I can think of a lot of bands from Quebec and also from France who are also doing the same thing, but that could be a bit detrimental for people who are interested in the genre. Therefore, we're gonna do our best to cast a wide net and get you guys into some killer Russian heavy metal. As per usual here on Overkill Global, we're gonna have an interview with a local correspondent. Here's a writer from In Rock magazine.
Hello, my dear friends. Sincerely yours, Dmitry Koshelev, writer of the In Rock magazine. I don't aim at completeness or universal truth. I would just like to tell you about the bands whose music is close to my heart. Legion, Russian for religion, were founded in Moscow in 1979. In the times of the Iron Curtain, when rock music was banned, it was difficult to arrange any concerts. However, Legion managed to play concerts with their own music and record it onto magnetic tape at home. In 1997, those old songs were re-recorded for a retrospective album called From 1980 to 1987. The second band I would like to mention is Adolf Castle. Their discography consists of one album only, Really Crazy Germans. First released in 1995, Adolf Castle delivered a solid dose of excellent power metal. At the time, most of the Russian youth were mentally injured by grunge and various forms of alternative rock. However, infected by the power metal virus that was being spread around the planet by Halloween, Blind Guardian and Gamma Ray gave Really Crazy Germans the credit it deserved. Next one, Aria Vortex. Their first full-length, Evil Sorcery, was released in 1983. The band plays real heavy metal with high-quality lyrics full of elusive or obvious concepts. There are thousands of other bands deserving utmost attention in my country. Stay metal!
Thanks, Dimitri, for your insight. Now, let's get to my picks. These are not ranked according to best to worst or any of that nonsense. They're all ranked by dramatic effect. First up, we're going back to the 70s to talk about a very important Russian band that started out as lighter rock and then transitioned into speed metal. Kuriz formed in 1978 in Tambov. They went on a handful of hiatuses and had lineup changes in between releasing 9 full-length albums. And then, in 1988, they released what I think is their best album, and is my first pick for this list. It's called Cruise, and it was released via WEA. Here is their biggest hit, In Flames, which old school Canadian metalheads may recognize from the Pepsi Power Hour. Fun fact about this song, there are 2 versions of it on the album. One is in English, the one you heard, and then the one that closes off the album is in Russian. I personally prefer it, but there's no kick-ass video for us to show you, so we showed you the English one. In my opinion, Cruise is the band's best album musically. I really dig the speed metal style, and I think that their thrash elements really remind me of bands like Violence, Violence, and the speed metal elements really remind me of early Halloween and also early Blind Guardian. The songs are fun, and they're catchy, and they're incredibly sing-alongable, which I know is an official word in the dictionary. Because this album is fun as hell, it's getting 4.5 skulls out of 5. Now, on to by far the most obscure band on this list. According to Metallum, Guvna Liam formed in 2010 in the port city of Engels in Saratov Oblast. Guvna Liam put out 1 EP and 1 full-length in 2010 via Mercy Despise Records. I'm not going to try to pronounce the album title, but my Russian friend told me that it is a translation that roughly means shit mausoleum or shit institution. And when you look on Metallum, one of the lyrical themes is shit. So I shared this band with my friends a few years ago, and I remember a lot of people being really outraged that this awesome, epic Viking metal, very later era Bathory inspired band was literally singing about poop. That being said, let's take a listen to this shit. If you are familiar with Viking era Bathory, and when I say that, I mean like Blood and Ice era Bathory. If you don't like that stuff, you're insane, but this album is definitely coming from that spot. The clip that we showed you doesn't really illustrate how good the vocals are. It is instead shown to, show you guys what the progressions are like. And this guy has nailed it. And it is a one-man band, and I can find no evidence that they're still even active online. But I'm very grateful for this shit, and I hope that all of you enjoy it as much as I do. I'm giving this crap 5 out of 5. It's the shit. Aria has been active since 1985. They formed in Moscow in that year, and they've been active ever since. They schismed into 2 bands in 2002. Now, we could pick a lot of different albums in the Aria discography, but instead I've chosen their debut because I think it kicked off a lot of Russian heavy metal. That one is called, and I'm going to read from the screen because my Russian friend gave me a phonetic spelling, Man-i-ya Verlichiya. Came out in 1985 via Moroz Records. The band has been remarkably consistent. They are marked by their operatic vocals and their dueling guitars, and they're often compared to Iron Maiden. And I think that that actually has a lot of merit. Many of my band friends over the years have really pimped this band. I know that the dudes in Visigoth and Gatekeeper are obsessed with them, and it's cool to spend more time with the project because honestly, everything I've heard from them I love. Quick side note, apparently the band came to Toronto several years ago, wasn't living here at that point, but my friends were, and they went to the show and they said it was one of the most bonkers off-the-wall gigs they've ever attended in their entire lives. I'm giving this album 4.5 skulls out of 5, and Aria, please come back. I want to swing from a chandelier into a crowd of mosh-pitting crazy people. Iron Driver formed in 2014, and they hail from St. Petersburg. I need to read you the bio on their Bandcamp page because it is awesome. Iron Driver is representing NWORHM, the new wave of Russian heavy metal. In 2017, they put out their newest release. It's an EP. It's called Crack of the Whip. And fun fact, it was banned from iTunes for its provocative cover art. This is NWORHM March / Heavy Metal Yesteryears. God damn, this is a really fun, energetic, driving little EP. I'm impressed with the vocal style because it's a bit more raspy, and a lot of these new wave of traditional heavy metal bands tend to be more operatic, whereas these guys went for a little bit left field. I'm really enjoying the soloing, and this is definitely the kind of release that I would feature on Cassette Cult. That being all said, because there's not quite enough solos, or because all I want is solos, these guys are getting 4 skulls out of 5. I know that we were just in mostly current day, but we need to rewind back to the 90s. Skald is a Russian epic doom metal band that formed in 1993 in Yaroslavl. Sadly, they only existed from 93 until 97 because their vocalist Maxim Agil passed away. They only have 1 demo and 1 full length to their name. That album came out in 1996. It's called Will of the Gods is Great Power, and it came out via Metal Aegis. I know that we have collectively said that these albums are not ranked, but this album is number 1 in my heart. There is 1,000 reasons why this record is so rare and so expensive, but incidentally, it is being reissued this fall. To buy a copy, there is a link in our bio. Now, for those who aren't familiar, this is an epic doom metal band with musical progressions similar to Candlemass, but vocally, as you heard, the vocals are very strange and warbling, and to me, they really bring to mind iconic strange vocalists like Terry Jones from Pagan Altar, or Mark Shelton, may he rest in peace, of Manila Road, or Geddy Lee of Rush. The production really fits the music where it's buried a bit beneath the music. And so the band itself sings a lot about Slavic and Scandinavian mythology, and the way that the production on this release works is because of those stories feel ancient, and the sound of the release itself is so ancient, it just ends up making this formidable, I'm gonna say it, it's a masterpiece of doom metal. This is my favorite. It's getting 5 out of 5 skulls. So what did we learn? Russian metal is a goddamn gem that needs to be unearthed and appreciated and cherished and loved a world over. There's so many albums that I wanted to talk about that I didn't even have a chance to go into just because there's so much going on in the Russian heavy metal scene. And I do want to spend a lot more time contextualizing why it is that this scene has not gotten the recognition that I think it deserves. This week's shoutouts, as recommended by our Patreon donors, are Aspid Extravasiation. That one is a technical progressive thrash metal band. Apparently this album came out in 1993. Wasn't familiar with it before, but it got reissued in 2015, so thanks for the tip on that. And then the other suggestion was Blazing Rust, their album Armed to Exist. Thanks everyone for watching. I was gonna say, what did we miss? But there's 10,000 more albums that we could listen to. So how about you just talk about all of your other favorite Russian metal bands in the comments, and then all of us can check them out.
Fight those who enslave. Unification or death. Take gun to our grave.